Once more, welcome to yet another episode of the You Can Be Anything podcast. I'm your host, Solange Che, and once more, I am here with another amazing guest. Somebody reached out to me recently and said, "Why do you call all your guests amazing?" And I told the person, you know what? For these people to make out their time to come sit here and talk to me and talk to us about what they do, I think that that is a huge thing. I appreciate it so much, and that's why I think they are amazing. So that was a response I gave. So help me welcome Asangwe Cho, also known as Chocho. That is how I call him. You might want to call his
Yeah.
formal names, but to me, he is Chocho. So thank you so much, Terence, for joining us on the You Can Be Anything podcast. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I mean, I think the word amazing goes both ways here. For you to come up with such an amazing platform, to have people like us come on and, maybe share some of our experience, or to have us listen to other amazing speakers. I think the honor comes this way. We are glad you're doing what you're doing, and we hope you can keep touching as many lives as you have been doing so far. And I hope we're going to continue having amazing people on here. So it's quite a pleasure and an honor for me to be here today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. So again, we're just going to start off by having Terence, or Chocho as I call him, tell us a little bit about himself. So please, Terence, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Okay, please let's go with Chocho.
Okay, Chocho is the name.
Every time somebody calls me Terence, I feel like either it's a discipline master in school or somebody. So let's
Okay,
do Chocho.
Chocho.
Okay, so I am Asangwe Cho. Um, I am an entrepreneur. Uh, I have a degree I have a BSc in law. I have studied quite a wide range of fields, but today I am an entrepreneur, and I'm focusing particularly on financial markets. And my target is seeing how we can make capital, both as human resources and as financial resources available to businesses around. So I think for now, that is my main driving force. That is what is pushing me. But every day what I do is I'm a trader and an investor in a digital or financial market. So that is me in brief.
Awesome. So when you talk about making capital available, are you referring to, so again, can you please just say that in simpler terms? I think even for me, it's a little bit
Okay,
cumbersome for me to understand what you're doing. So please, can you
okay.
break it down in a layman's term?
Uh, uh, to break it down to the lay format, I think my driving force or my passion for now is making funds available for startups and already existing small businesses in Cameroon for the moment.
Oh, awesome. Which means you're available. If somebody wants to start a business, they are able to apply for like a loan, and you give them a loan for a business and they can pay back. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you got it right. I think one of the biggest challenges I've had on my journey is getting funding or raising capital for my business. So for the past 2 to 3 years, we have been working on setting up a cooperative that can unite funds from people who have, and then make it available to people who are running their businesses already. We don't work with startups. We work with businesses that are already running but have need for capital, have needs to improve in their logistics and maybe in their product line and all of that. So we work with businesses that are existing already. We have a cooperative that was finally registered and licensed last year. So through the cooperative, we make funding available for small businesses that are already running.
Awesome. What's the name of your cooperative?
Cooperative have funny names. It's abbreviated CAPCO.
Capco.
CAPCO, that's CAPD COOP. That's Celestial Agricultural Producers and Distributors Cooperative union.
Okay, great. That's nice. Again, I'm going to add this to the description of the podcast. So anybody that
Okay.
would like to know more, they can always reach out to you. And I think that this is an amazing thing. This is just that's why I wanted you to break it down so that anybody listening can actually know that this is something that we have longed for. We have wished to have something like this in Cameroon because one of the challenges when I talk to people, especially people who own businesses back home, it's about capital. And I bet you that there are people out here. I am one of those people who I think it's very hard to run a business. So I love to invest instead. And there are tons of people out there who are interested in things like that. So what Chocho does is he gets people who want to invest. They have the money to invest, and they put it together. And if you have a business and a business that has already been put up again, you're able to apply and you can get funds to expand your business or to make it better. I think this is awesome for real because
I mean, like I think you've gotten the concept so well. I don't know if it's allowed, but I can just give a brief rundown of how we got to this level. Very brief.
yes,
And
please go ahead. I think that's good
okay, so it,
information.
it it's a twofold business. Okay,
Yes,
now we have people who have money and they are looking to invest in businesses, and
yes,
we have people who run businesses and they are looking for capital.
money.
I think one of the biggest disconnect I've experienced with people is they don't trust anything that is happening back here. A lot of people have lost a lot of money through family and through other means of assisting people. But I would be very honest, running a business is difficult. And most times people are not careless with these funds. Most times people are not dishonest, but most times businesses don't just work out and it's a challenge. So when I started out my career, I started out as an intern in a bank and First Trust Bank. And back then, I had this bar restaurant owner come and he kept asking for funding, for a loan, but the bank wouldn't give him because he doesn't have a collateral
Yeah.
and they can't give him a loan without a collateral. So I told my branch manager back then, let me go down and see what this guy is doing and maybe we can work out something for him. So I went there and I saw this guy was the restaurant owner was making sales of about 50 to 60,000 CFA per day, but they had one challenge. Every day they have to sell and then go to the market the next day, buy the things they were going to cook for the next day. And you can imagine the headache. So all what this guy wanted was stock his freezer with maybe pork, beef, and some other products that they used to cook on a daily basis, and then stock another freezer with drinks. So I got back to the branch manager and she said, look, the rules are very clear. This man needs to have at least 1/5 of the amount in his bank account. This man needs to have a collateral or at least another bank client who is going to shorty him. And what was this guy looking for? 500,000 francs. So I spoke with a couple of friends, and there was one of them who was ready to make these funds available. So we got 500,000 francs for the restaurant owner, and there was one condition: he was supposed to pay in 5% of his daily sales. That's as a reimbursement for the loan. So
Yeah.
this guy had 500,000 francs, and per day he had to pay averagely between 5 to 8,000 francs. And in less than 6 months, the money was repaid with interest and the business was stabilized. So, I mean, I looked at it and I said, but this is an informal loan. It is very convenient repaying this loan to this to the whoever handed out this loan because it came daily. There is a challenge with our banking system because most loans are paid at the end of the month.
Yes.
So if your child falls ill at month end, you prioritize that over your loan. If your
That's true.
rent is due, you prioritize that over your loan. So what we decided to do was break it down into bits. So let's say, for instance, we come and we see somebody who owns a cafeteria, but every day he needs to buy a tin of milk or a tin of mayonnaise or maybe a couple of sardine tins. So what we do is We come there, we ask you what you need for the business, we purchase it. And that is another problem we are solving. We don't hand you the cash because there's a lot of misappropriation of cash. Somebody will take a loan for farming, and before you know, they have bought a new car. So, what we do is we actually come to your business, we see what is needed, and then we purchase what is needed and we hand it as the financial assistance. So, uh, a few years after I had the experience of working with an insurance company that dealt with the mass market, and I actually saw firsthand how people needed money for their businesses. So we had a pilot phase of the whole project back in 2014, where I personally funded 5 businesses, and the results were amazing. Our bankers were happy because every day we collect about 22,000 from 5 businesses. In a week, it's about 105,000, and every Monday we deposit that money in our bank account. And our bankers saw the consistency, and they were like, okay, you people are doing something great. So I think there is a lot of market out here. There's a lot of people needing funding for their restaurants, for their saloons, for their cafeterias, cosmetic shops. So our economy is still in the phase where we still deal with businesses that are not yet in manufacturing. We are merely a commercial economy. We buy and we sell. We don't produce. So this is the bulk of the businesses that need assistance. So what we decided to do with the cooperative is we have 10,000 shares. A share is 10,000 francs. So for instance, if you're interested in investing, you come and say, okay, I want to take 100 shares. That's 1,000,000 francs. You make the money available. You deposit in our bank. We bank with BGFI for the moment. You deposit at our bank, and us in turn, what we do is we look at the applications that we have in front of us, and for now, the first loans we are issuing out are between 300 to 500,000 francs. You see, so we are keeping it slow, and we are doing it in stages. So if you get the first funding and you say, okay, you pay in time, what we do is we can increase the limit of what we are giving you. But I think we solve two major problems. Is the loans are repaid in little bits. They are repaid in little bits, and the provision of the capital is not in cash. It is actually provided in the form of what you need for your business. So that is it. The cooperative had its license on the 3rd of March last year, and we are already operational, but we are still looking for those who are willing to come in the investment side of the project, so that we can have more funds to be able to help many struggling small businesses. So that is just a brief of
This
what
is
we came up with.
amazing, Chocho, for real. Like, I've been talking to you, but this is the first time that I've actually understood a breakdown of what you do. And I wouldn't
Yes,
lie to you, this is amazing. When we talk about economies that are good, okay, I'm in the US. Like, if you people support small businesses here,
yes,
some people
yes.
take it for granted, but that is something that will really hold down a business in a place like Cameroon. So what you do is amazing. I think it is. You see why I call you an amazing person? It's because of things like this. I did not know the details of what you do. So again, thank
I
God for
mean,
podcasts like this. This is how the information goes out
it
and
goes
people
on.
can. Yeah, and again, if you're listening to this and you are someone that is you have some money, nobody wants to keep money in the banks anymore. We're trying
Yeah,
not to do that. We want to invest our money. So this is an opportunity. This is an investment opportunity in Cameroon. My dear Cameroonians listening to me, I keep saying that no matter where we are in the world, whatever we do, home will always be home. And the one
yes,
way that we can help home grow is by investing back home. So if you're someone that has some money and you're like, hey, you want to be able to invest this money and help our country grow, this is a great opportunity. This is a great opportunity for you to put your money somewhere that is being used well and it's impacting our community. It's helping people who don't have the capital to actually do what they want to do and be able to pay back in bits. So, Chocho, thank you so much for explaining that. This is amazing knowledge. I appreciate this so much.
I mean, so it's I've had a rough journey as an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
and it's one of those things that are really a huge challenge in Cameroon, like finding capital. Most times, a lot of small business owners are forced to go for loans, family loans, and loans from friends. And I tell you, it has ruined a lot of relationships for me, and it ruins a lot of relationships because I think there is one concept we don't understand here in Africa, the concept of bankruptcy. There is a point at which, a small business
Goes
can't,
bankrupt.
it needs, yeah, it needs to go through a phase. And there is a shortage of capital, there is inavailability of cash for marketing and all of those things. And most of these small businesses, they die. And most times when people are contracting these loans from friends and from family members, the terms are not clear and the payment schedules are always very tight. So I think I've been a victim of that. I've had a lot of relationships not really spoiled but strained. And I think what we have done is we are trying to take the person to person relationship, the burden off. And now we have a cooperative that is very structured. We have a board of 7 members, and we have a management committee of 7 members, experts from wider fields. I'm sure you know a couple of them. Most of them are university mates, some of them already with great experience in the banking and finance sector in the country. So I think a lot of people will be worried about the safety of their funds. But when we're doing something at this scale, I think the most important factor for me as an entrepreneur is accountability and reporting. So I think we are really hoping to. We haven't sold up to half of our shares. I mean, we have 10,000 shares and we are still below 3,000. And we have a lot of businesses that are needing funding. And there's one very important thing. We are also making insurance, health insurance available to these businesses we are funding. You will not believe, you will not believe that less than 13% of Cameroonians have health insurance. Less than 13% of Cameroonians. So we saw this as a channel of providing insurance. I also have insurance experience. So what we do is each month when you're repaying your each month or each day when you're repaying the amount you have to repay,
Yep.
we can charge about 200 francs or 300 francs for 25 days. That gives us about 4,000 francs. And once you complete the payment for that month, you have health insurance for the next month,
Yes.
which means that if you fall sick, if you want to insure many more members of your family, you just increase the number of the amount you pay, which means that once you pay this month, you have insurance coverage for
For
next
the
month.
next month.
Once you pay next month, you have insurance coverage for the next month. I think it's a model that deals with a huge group of people, but doesn't consider the long term. Any month you think you cannot afford the insurance, you can discontinue, but we really make it a condition for benefiting the loans to provide health insurance, which is much needed in the segment of business in which we operate, the informal sector.
Oh wow, this is amazing. Like I really love that. It's really just beautiful what you do. And I know I was going to ask you to talk to us a little bit about the things that you wish you had known before you started this. You have already mentioned some of that in the course of talking, but if you want to, you can just highlight again on, okay, what is something, or let's say one or two things that you wish you had known before you started. I know from what you have explained, you got your licenses last. You've been doing this, but it has become an official
Yeah,
cooperative as
yeah.
of last year. And is there anything that you would do differently if you had to turn
I
back the
I
hands of
I
time?
I think if there's one thing I could really do differently, or one advice, if I can do something differently, it means I'm telling somebody who is coming up that, don't do this. I think a
Yes.
lot of a lot of entrepreneurs make a crucial mistake. I've watched a lot of startups rise up and then they fall suddenly because a lot of people get into businesses without being financially ready. Okay, I always tell people, if you want to start up a business, make sure you have what we call OPEX, or operational capital. Make sure you have operational capital for at least 18 months. You know, a lot of people tell me that is too much. I tell them, look, rents, internet connectivity, and if you have a two-man structure or a three-man structure, make sure you have at least a bare minimum wage for those people for 18 months, because this is a period where a business goes through a lot. You know, you get a client today and maybe there will not be a returning client
Right.
because there was a lapse in your services. You
Service.
know, it takes time to perfect your services. It takes time to perfect your products as a startup. So you have a situation where your revenue is not certain. You know, there are a lot of things that, for a business environment like Cameroon, you get a lot of taxes being bombarded on you. Those are things that are not expected. So what I tell people is, for the things that you're sure about, your rents, your electricity bills, your internet bills, and probably a minimum wage, make sure you are able to have that money for 18 months. Preferably if you can pay upfront. You know, it is going to save you a lot of headache and it's going to keep the business longer. So
Yeah.
that is one challenge I think I had, because you know, I had money to rent space for 1 year, I had money to connect internet for 3 months, and I got into business. But you know, after that, your revenue is not fixed. You have to deal with taxes. There's a day I came into my office and there was no electricity. Before I knew, I had to get a technician, and he told me what they call disjoncteur in French, or circuit breaker, was damaged. And there am I going to the office in the morning with a list of things I have to do, and then I had 80,000 francs added on my expense for the day. You
Yeah.
can't work without electricity. So I think the whole journey of entrepreneurship, there are a lot of challenges, but at least be financially prepared for your fixed capital expenses for 18 months. That is the period I always give, I always write about. And if there's one more thing I wish I'd done differently, probably get experience in the field of the business. I worked in banking, but not for too long, you know, because when, if you want to get into hairdressing or into beauty, what I would advise is work for somebody for even a year, 2 or 3. You know,
Yes.
it does two things for you. It helps you understand the business, and it also helps you create relationships. You know, we take it lightly, but just the fact that you know who to call in a particular sector means a lot. You know, so those
Yeah,
are
that
two
is
things I,
awesome.
yes.
I'm glad you brought that up because I had a guest here who said the same thing. When I spoke to Lillian Binglow, she said exactly the same thing when she started her business at the Arc as a CPA. She had to work for another firm, and when she left there, she was able to. So she used that
Yeah.
as an experience to own a business,
Yeah.
understood the dynamics of the business, then was able to run hers. So that is a very valid point. And most of the time, people really don't take it into consideration. So thanks again for highlighting on that. I hope this helps someone. And in the
Yeah.
course of doing all of this, you have explained again, which I think is very great that you actually brought all those points up. And those are, how can I put this? Those are like real valid everyday reasons, everyday challenges that
Yeah.
businesses have, that they start up and after some time there is no money. When you're starting a business, you're not particularly sure how the turnout is going to be. You spoke about returning customers. Something might happen and somebody doesn't come back. Somebody might come and there is a breach in service or so, and they never come back.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
understand. I think if I were to start a business, I would take your advice because, yeah, that is great. And again, in all of this journey, right, Chocho, the reason you're doing what you're doing is because you experienced what you experienced, right? So
Yeah.
experience was a great teacher to you. What would you say has been your biggest? Sometimes I call it failure, sometimes I call it challenge, because some, as I say, a failure is considered a lesson, right? So,
Yeah.
what would you
Yeah.
say has been your biggest failure, and what specific lesson did you learn from that? What did you get from it that you want to share with the listeners today?
I mean, I think I've spoken about it in passing. I
Yeah.
think my biggest failure was getting myself linked with informal creditors, informal forms of funding, because uh, I couldn't go to the bank. You can't go to the bank because you don't have a track record. The government doesn't have any institution. Like I know I am even versed with the American system. They have something they call a small business SBA, or is a
Mm-hmm.
small business
Oh, small
administration.
business.
They
Okay.
yeah, they push small businesses. In Cameroon, we don't have any structure like that on the part of the government. Even if there is, I don't think I know about it. And I think most of the time the activities are agree, person to person, so it's not very formal. And then we don't have investment banks. You have what we call investment banks out there. They look at your project and they can take the risk on your project. Like, okay, you see a lot of startups in Silicon Valley, you hear this thing was started with $5 million, but it didn't take off. I mean, if I had 10 million CFA when I was starting up, I wouldn't be here. So it pushed me to go to families and to go to friends, you know, and there is what this did to me was you you are using what we call economically, I think it's liability. Your startup capital is already a liability. Like you have to most times pay interest on it
Yep.
because you're getting it from somebody and they don't just give out cash like that. So I think for me that's one of the biggest thing I experienced in my journey. Not because just because it spoiled a lot of relationships for me, not because it was really a failure. But I mean, for other failures, I have situations where I, like a couple of last year before COVID, I invested close to 9 million CFA in launching a new business outlet. And, 2 months after there was COVID. And so for me, that is a loss that is not really linked to a mistake or a failure you did, but
Yep.
it's still a business loss. But I think one thing I regret most is having to deal with informal creditors.
Yeah, yeah. COVID had a lot of impact on it. Made
Yeah,
it was good for some people. To some other people, it
bad for some
crushed them,
people.
right? So it
Yeah,
was kind of in the middle. I know that
yeah.
recently I heard of the small business loan that the U.S. government is giving out here, and you're not even supposed to pay any interest. You're not allowed to pay back
Anything.
till after 5 years. That is
Imagine, I
actually,
mean,
yeah, that is good. And I remember that I was listening to Ida Zephyr. She's a financial coach, and she had a session with another Cameroonian that is a CPA. And this guy
mm,
was calling on Cameroonians, calling on small businesses here in the US to apply for that loan
to
because
apply.
the government can give you up to, I think it was a million plus or so dollars, where you can put in your business, and you only start paying back after 5 years.
Five
I think
years.
that is an
That's
amazing
amazing.
thing. And that's where the US beats us. That's where the economy here beats us back home. So I
Yes, I
understand what
mean,
you're saying.
looking at the capital market in Cameroon, we are at less than 3%. If you are not a big institution and with a good track record, getting funding is really difficult. So what we are doing with the cooperative, I think, is something new.
Yeah.
You don't even have to save with us. You don't need to save your money with us. All what you need to do is uh, you buy at least one share,
Mm-hmm.
and to get registered is 25,000 francs, which is one share plus registration dues. And you need to have the business that falls within our category of businesses. It should be a commercial business, which means for now we can't fund a carpenter, because
Yep.
what a carpenter does is he can take maybe a month to have a client. What we are looking for is barber
Revenue
shops,
running business.
restaurants,
Mm-hmm.
businesses that have revenue that comes in daily. It's
Mm-hmm.
easy for us to apply our model on them. But
Okay.
later on, when we are more stable, we are looking to have a division that functions like an investment bank, where we can look at projects and we accompany them from the start. I think that is in our 3 to 5 year plan.
Yeah, yeah, that is amazing. I think what you're doing is really good. I think I really like it. And again, Chocho, you studied
Yes,
law. correct?
You don't want to hear about what I've studied.
No, okay, no. Officially, when I went to school, when we went to
Yes,
official university, when we completed high school and went to university, if I'm not mistaken, you studied law, correct?
yes, I have a BSc in law.
Yeah, there we go. And so, which means that there's a lot of things that you have done. You have gone from most probably formal and informal ways to learn
Yes,
about these things you're talking about. You're not just talking from the moon. You're not talking from
no,
your
no,
law class. No,
yes,
you're talking because you have learned in other ways. So, one thing I want
yes.
you to talk to us about now is what are some of the resources that have helped you along the way? Like, what have you used? What you have listened to? What have you read that has actually helped you on this whole journey of getting into this huge thing you're doing?
Okay, so I think I was a good science student back in high school, and when I was going to the university, I actually did 1 year life sciences, 1 year life sciences in the University of Boya. But with my lifestyle, and it couldn't work out for me. I'm not really a scientist guy, so I switched to law. And after law, I think I really have a wide experience in a lot of fields. When I was in my final year in the university, what we used to do is we used to do a lot of research for people doing their projects.
Yep.
We do the research. And after university, I got into IT. I actually started my business by doing IT supplies and services.
Mm-hmm.
So the resource for me has been the internet. I think I've even worked as the head of the IT department of a company without an IT degree. And you wouldn't believe it. When I got recruited, I was recruited in Cameroon, when I was working for VA Life. And back then, I mean, I'm a good IT guy, very good. I did everything. But now the head of the IT had to come from South Africa,
Yeah.
and I was very nervous because I mean, I don't have a degree in IT. And here I'm the head of the IT department. Everything is working well, but man, you don't have a degree. So this guy comes in. Fortunately for me, he's a white guy, and we have work we have to do. And on the first day on the job, the guy sees I'm very nervous. And what he told me was, he said, Terence, don't stress yourself. If there's anything you don't understand, talk to me about it. If you need help. And that was for me, it took me to a whole different level, because for the 2 weeks these guys were in Cameroon, they didn't do anything. I did all the work. And where did I learn IT from? On the internet. So the internet for me has been the biggest resource. And I feel very bad the way our youths of today, they use the internet. Like, it has practically lost its value. Okay, I am currently a chartered market technician, level 2, a chartered course. I learned exclusively on the internet, and then I go and write out. Probably it's not written in Cameroon, so I go out and write. I'm currently doing my CFA, level 1 CFA, only on the internet. I study on the internet. So I think for me, the biggest resource has been the internet. Okay. After the internet, I think reading has done a lot for me. You see, I have a mini library behind me. Even before leaving secondary school, I think myself and other classmates, Carol, we used to read and we note down the books. So I've read quite a lot on various fields, psychology, law. Currently, I read mostly business books, but recently I told myself that I chill. You can read novels from time to time. So I think the internet has been one, and reading for me has been two. And then there is a third, which is also about funding, is our informant Jangi structures. It really helped me because when I got here, an elder brother told me, Terence, I'm going to put you into this Njange. It's 100,000 francs a month. If you can't pay, I'm going to pay. I mean, he did a lot for me because I was making sales, but at my age, I was spending money. So when he put me there, I told myself, no, I'm not going to disappoint this guy. So, you save up for a year, and, you when you benefit, you have about 2 million francs. You can do something, you can actually help or assist a branch in your business. So I remember when I was leaving Aqua to come to a bigger office in Bonaberi, that is what I did. I planned for the period where I was going to benefit my Jangi, and I got this money to equip the office. So I think that is also something that we don't really make good use of. I know a lot of Cameroonians do it, but it has a potential to really help businesses grow. So those for me are the three things that have really helped me on my journey as an entrepreneur.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing those. And for your first point about the internet, that's something that I've spoken about on this platform a lot because, as you say, the youth of today, our people, they are not using the internet right. I do not have a problem. I go to the internet to have fun. I watch comedy. I listen to gossip. I do, yes. But
Yes, of
again,
course.
when it is my time to upskill, I don't joke with it. So, but
Of
that
course.
is one thing that people are not, our youth are not taking seriously. And another thing that I wanted to hammer on a little bit is when you talk about learning all these things that you're talking about being all the certifications you have to go take, you study for them. Terence, you're not just picking certifications from out of the moon. You're looking at what you need. You're
Yeah,
looking for a skill, something to learn that will benefit your business. You're looking for,
exactly.
you're looking to build on those skills, choosing these skills that will help you, that you know that are going to help you be better at what you do. And so I'm so happy that you explained that clearly here because when I have
Mhm.
people listening, I want people to always understand that yes, we have these university degrees. We went to school with, yeah, we have the degrees, but it doesn't end there. I don't think it is worth it to go get another university degree. I will not go back and say I want to get a degree in, I did linguistics. Maybe I want to go back and get a degree in journalism because I wanted to become a journalist. I will not do that. I will learn the skill that I need to become a journalist if I want to become one. So thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for your time. On the other side, I want you to talk to us about, um, let's talk about three people. Let's limit it to three. I know that there's a possibility that there will be more, but let's limit it to three people that have been mostly influential to you on this your journey.
Okay. For me, I think it's always like it's the same for every person. I think that the first are my parents. You know, the first are my parents, like my parents really. And there was a day my dad told me he wanted me to write a NAM concours, and he said it a couple of times. And one day I told him that if not for the fact that you are my father, I'm not going to talk to you again because I continuously refuse. And when he actually understand that what I wanted to do was entrepreneurship, he supported me completely. I can't believe the number of times I've gone to him and I've said that I need this equipment for my business. This part of the business is struggling, and he would say, okay, I would send over some money. And there's a time he even had to put me on a monthly stipend, just to release the stress on me. Like he said, okay, we have a family business. What we are going to do is every month you're going to receive this amount just for your rent so that you don't stress. So I think that for me, having your father understanding that you want to take this road, it gives you a lot of courage because no matter how bad things go, you can fall back. Unfortunately, he's no more here, but that's another difficult story for me. But I think my dad in particular, and our moms were not very wealthy, but they always had these little
The
things they
push.
did. They would send you food, and when you come back sometime, he will tell you, I had this manjangi and I kept some money. So I think they really supported me even after school. And when things picked up, I think everybody was very happy. And next, I have this Ghanaian investor, Mr. Dako Awua, and he made me understand one very basic principle. It is better to have 500 clients who pay you 50 francs a day than to have 10 clients who pay you 2 million a month. It's better to have 500 clients who pay you 50 francs daily than to have 10 clients who give you 2 million francs a month. And that for me shaped my vision and the sectors in which I was looking to do business, because a lot of people would prefer to have 10 clean, wealthy clients that they deal with. But, you know, the mass market, as he usually calls it, as it is called, it is the bulk of Cameroonians who the buy and sellers, the guys who roast meat by the roadside. That is the bulk of businesses that need support. That is where the bulk of Cameroonians. And what he did was he's the one who actually introduced the concept of monthly internet. He's the one who introduced the concept of monthly insurance, where
Insurance.
you contribute this month and then you earn insurance next month. And he did a program in collaboration with MTN, where you earn insurance just by calling a particular amount per month. Like if you spend up to 5,000 francs a month, you could benefit insurance of up to 500,000 francs.
Oh,
So that is what MTN did to boost not only consumption of their credit, but also to provide health insurance for the mass market. So one thing I know for sure is the bulk of the Cameroonian market needs capital, and the bulk of the Cameroonian market is uninsured. So what we tried to do was provide insurance by providing capital.
capital.
So I think he actually shaped my vision in that direction. And I've already spoken about my head of IT, Dion. He came all the way from South Africa, and what every person needs is to have that confidence in what you do, to have somebody who can tap you in the back and say, guy, you're good at what you do, forget the certificates, forget the degrees. So I think what he did for me when I was in IT was he told me, you're good at what you do, and don't think that because you don't have who even wants to work with an IT man who went to school. Most IT gurus didn't go
They
to
don't
school.
want that.
So I think that's one thing he did for me that was really good.
Yeah, that's nice. Awesome. Again, great thoughts there on your dad. And I know your dad, may his soul rest in peace, bless his heart. He was a really huge businessman. We all grew up seeing him in him and his business back home. So I'm glad that I'm sure even where he is now, he's so proud of you. And I know, Remy, I know your mom is super, super proud of you and all the things you do. So thank you so much for sharing that. And is there anything about the whole, like your whole entrepreneurial business? Is there anything in there that you like to debunk? Is there any myth in that industry that you like to debunk on the web?
Honestly, if there's one comment I want to make now is things don't go as fast as we want them to go. That is one lesson I learned the hard way. If you look at my timeline, by 2015, I should have been established already. But this is me 6 years after, and we are just taking off. Okay, and it's really a challenge with the younger generation now, because a lot of people want to achieve titles very fast. They want to be called MD very fast. They want to be called CEO. But I'm very sorry to burst the bubble. It doesn't go that fast. And you know, I have a book here, the biggest 500 brands, and I was shocked the other day. I realized the youngest was about 32 years old. The youngest brand in that book was about 32
Sustainability.
years old. And that is one thing I want to let young entrepreneurs understand, that in entrepreneurship, 5 years is no time. 5 years is really no time. 8 to 10 years, you should have started seeing results in what you're doing.
Mm,
And 10 to 20 years, that is when you're establishing yourself as a brand. That is when you're not more focusing on developing products, but focusing on innovation and focusing on clients, customer service. So one thing I would really like to put out there is for every entrepreneur to understand that it takes time, to really build a good business.
yeah, great. Thank you. I know we have spoken about a ton of different things. Just for the listeners' sake, can you please just briefly again just enumerate the services you offer? Like, okay, what do
Okay,
you?
so for now, what I do mainly is we train people on uh, what we call trading, trading in financial markets, currencies, and cryptocurrencies. That is like one of the most stable branches of our business. Personally, I trade. As we are talking,
Like the stock
I
market,
turn
huh?
I turn my eye every now
You're
and then
looking
to
at
look
the.
at my trading screen. So I personally trade, and for a while we have been managing accounts for people, on certain terms and conditions, certain amounts, and it's a very complicated space. It has had a lot of bad experiences for people, so it's something that we really do mostly on recommendation. It's not something that we are marketing, but it's something we are doing. And finally, we are beginning to focus on capital and funding provision for businesses. Like we took the whole last year to get some investors. It's really difficult. It's really difficult. I don't want to say it, but we have a lot of arguments between Nigeria and Cameroon on the internet. But I want to tell you, you'd love to start your business in Nigeria because those guys, they can support the business. Those guys, they understand what it means to push a business. But in Cameroon, we are having a lot of challenges actually getting the quality and the kind of investors we are looking for. So for now, I said it earlier, we are still offering shares in our cooperative. It's a non-financial cooperative, it's an agricultural cooperative because it has the mandate not to receive deposits from people, but to use out its money to push people's businesses. So for now, we still have close to about 8,000 shares, 7,000 plus shares available, which we are actively looking for a few people. We don't want to have 8,000 people owning 8,000 shares. We want to have about four of you people owning 2,000 shares each. So that is one thing we are really hoping that a few people can hear from this podcast and try to be a part of it. Like I said before, it is very organized. It is very organized. Accountability is very clear. So that should not be a problem. So those are the things we are doing. We are training, we are trading, and we are providing funding for businesses and also offering shares of our cooperative to people.
Okay. And do you have an online presence? How can people find you online if they wanted to?
Okay. Personally, I am online with my name on every platform, Asangwe Cho. Our cooperative, our website will be live in 48 hours.
Oh,
It's going to be, yeah, www.capcode.org. It's going to be live if our IT people don't postpone our launching date
okay.
again. So
I know.
sorry, sorry I said it here, but it's going to be live very soon. And
Okay.
I think that is it for our business. Celesta Invest is also live on celestagroup.com. So
Okay.
that is it. That those are we are on Twitter. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I find it so difficult
200, that's fine. So if anybody needs more information, they can always reach out to you as Sangwe T Solomon Cho on Facebook.
on
I know,
Facebook.
yeah, I read a
Yes,
lot of your posts on Facebook, so they can reach
yes,
out to you, maybe a direct message,
on
and you'll
Facebook
be able to
preferably.
provide more information
Yeah,
on this.
yeah.
And hey, if you cannot remember, reach out to me, and I'll be able to connect you to him if you want to know more about what they do. And again, if you want to be one of our investors or one of the investors, we'll be looking forward to that. So thank you so much for sharing all of that information, Terrence. And the way my podcast goes, right? Again, I call it the You Can Be Anything podcast. It's a podcast where I come to talk to people about the possibility of, like, the different possibilities we have in this world, right? Our potential. And so one thing I never want to leave a podcast episode without talking about is giving my guests an opportunity to speak to that one person out there that would probably, you're not sure yet who it is, but there is definitely someone out there that will listen to you today and will be like, oh, wow, this guy just changed my mindset. Oh, wow, this guy just make things look so differently for me. So I want to give you the mic now to, I always call it putting you in a motivational speaker's shoes, however you want to take it, but just talk to someone, address something out there, and then there is something also that we're going to talk about. But after you do this, then I'll just bring it up so we can have a little bit of, I want to prick your
Okay.
mind a little bit on that. Yes.
Okay. If there's one thing I want to tell people is it's not late to start afresh. In the world where we are today, I always tell people consistency is all you need. If you just post a carrot on your status every day, just the picture of a carrot. If you post it for 6 months, I can assure you somebody is going to call you and say they want to buy carrot.
Yep.
I mean, I've told people so many times, if you can just be consistent at what you do, and we don't have to be consistent blindly. Learn whatever thing you have to learn. For the past few days, I've been looking for social media managers, and I have junior brothers looking for jobs, and I've told them, why don't you just pay for a cheap course, $30 on Domestika, Causeria, learn social media management. I tell you, in less than 6 months, you're going to pick a good job. And I always say it, and I'll keep saying it. If time is the only thing stopping you from doing something, just start it. Because before you know, time has gone. So what I want to say to somebody out there is, don't let time stop you. Don't think that because it's going to take 2 years to have this certificate. I had a friend, he had to drop his job and go to law school. He went to law school, and you will not believe how well he's doing today. But before going, he was asking himself how he's going to cope for 2 years in law school. So what I want to tell people is, pick anything you want to learn. If you have an advanced level degree, you're okay. If you have
Yep.
an O level certificate, you're okay.
You
Just
can
pick
learn.
any field, and just learn. I mean, there's information out there. I practically learned how to trade on YouTube. You know, I actually learned how to trade, got successful, and then I could pay for my certification. I pay one certification for about uh, $1,500, and I have to travel out, stay in another country for a few days to write. So, but I had to learn how to trade, make money from trading, then pay for those things. Because one of my students asked me one day, boss, but you're making money, why are you aching your head with these big books? And I told him, there's a level in life where money cannot take you through. There's a level in life where you can go through just with the money you have. People think money can go anywhere, but I can assure you, if they come today and they are looking for an expert in financial markets, they will not take somebody who has made money from financial markets. You have to show that you have a CFA, a CMT, and you're making the money. So people should, even if you're selling bread, you'd want to learn how to even, you know, you would want to learn how to do something, even if it's in bread marketing. It's going to push you further. So I think people should take time, look for anything they are passionate about, learn how to do it. And in our generation, you can't do anything for 2 years without making money out of it.
Yep, you're talking about 2 years. I tell people that 6 months. With
I
six
just want
months
to, yeah,
dedication, you're giving them too much time because 6 months to 1 year is enough time for you to pick up a skill and learn
yes,
and be employable. What
yes,
people don't do, what most of our people don't do is they just feel like that is too much time. They don't want to. I
fine.
told somebody once that, hey, do you know that being an expert in something like Excel, just mastering Excel alone can give you a good job? But they're like, oh, grand sir, hey, Excel. But they don't just believe and they just, I don't know what
And
is
that's one
happening.
thing I always tell friends.
Yeah.
It's one thing I always tell friends. If there's one software I have to pick, if they tell you to pick one software that can take you to heaven, is Excel.
Oh, Excel
I mean,
does magic, right?
it's Excel. Like in my professional career, no other software has been that important. There was a time I was even teaching people how to use Excel. I learned how to use Excel, and then I made money by teaching people
Teaching
how to
people
use
how to
Excel.
use it.
I mean,
Very
there's
true.
there's just quite a lot out there, and as an entrepreneur, you want to touch too much, but there's also the challenge of touching too much. It comes a time where you can't focus. Like,
Yes.
I had to tell myself last year, okay, Terence, you know how to do all of these things, but this is what you have to do. You
To
just
do.
have to leave some of. There are times when somebody will call me, Terence, please, I need a laptop, and I say, no, I don't do that anymore.
Anymore.
I'm I'm looking at the money, but I mean, you have to let some things go.
Go. Yeah, which
So,
is true.
but
But how did you get to that point before getting you? It took you
you
a
had
while
to
to get
do
to the point where you have to let
exactly,
some other things go, right? So
exactly.
again, somebody cannot just sit and say, "No, I don't want to learn so many things." You go
No, you
through it.
have
It's a process. right? You have
You
to
have
trust the
to.
process. You go through the process. Then at one point you can say, you know what? No, I don't do computers anymore. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
but no.
exactly.
But that's because you're in a position of comfort now. You don't
Of
need that
choosing.
to pay your bills. You have other things that you're doing. So I'm really happy that you shared all of this, and I'm always looking forward to talking to people that are on the ground. I try to encourage people, but I've also had those comments that come and say, "Hey, you're only saying that because you live in America now." So I'm like, "Hey, I always want to have that opportunity to talk to someone that is on the ground, like who is back home, like you, and who is able to talk about this real life, what you experience every day, and how you're able to still study and do all these certifications right from Cameroon. Yes, you have to travel to go take some of them out, but you study back home. So I'm really happy. I appreciate your time so much. One thing I wanted you to maybe just talk about, this was not planned, but it's about feedback and reviews. Sometimes some people don't understand the importance of giving feedback, right? Of saying that, hey, this I dealt with this person and this is how it was, or giving a review. This is something that cuts across our whole country. From I've listened to celebrities, to musicians, to bloggers complain about Cameroonians not giving feedback. Like they can like you and vibe. Okay, actually, this was particularly spoken about by one of these guys that I am Fish Official. I felt
Yeah,
so
yeah.
touched when I listened to his video where he was talking about giving feedback. Like Cameroonians will vibe to music, but when they see you, he doesn't feel like
Physically.
they're fans. Yes. So I don't know if you have any insight. This is one thing that I'm beginning to. I want people to talk about more. So if you have anything to share on this general idea of feedback and giving reviews in.
I think in Cameroon we have feedback in Cameroon. I think what really hampers feedback in Cameroon is levels. It's hard for you to give feedback or to be so excited when you see somebody who is not financially different from you. I would have to say it honestly. I met Fish a couple of times. May he rest in peace. But most of these musicians are disrespected because when they pull up, they are probably not riding the kind of car you think a celebrity should be riding. You see somebody who is over the internet, but you see him walking on foot. Like for me, it's been maybe a few months now. I'm not riding a car, okay? But somebody is going to see you and they would be like, this guy who is so popular on social media, he's working on food. And that is a serious limitation we have. It's really a serious limitation we have because people feel that for you to be respected, you need to come with a certain level of aesthetics
Yes.
and all of that, which is, there's one guy I really admired, Joybird Javnu. He's an
Yes,
entrepreneur.
I've been reading about him recently.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's doing great stuff, and most times we're in Bonaberi, we meet, and you see the kind of respect I give him at times, and people are like, Terence, this guy. I say no. What this guy is doing, you have to hail him. Not because he is not. In a few years to come, you will not be able to know what some of us want financially.
Yep.
So I think Cameroonians have that issue because they look at people, and it's really a bad thing in Cameroon because you get people borrowing money to buy big cars. I have dealt with a level of businessmen in Cameroon, and I'll tell you, people have to put up a show. There's this day I went to the bank and I was elegantly dressed because they don't respect you in Cameroon if you don't dress too well. I can tell you that it's one of the bad things we have. So most times when I'm going for a meeting or when I'm going to the bank, you just want to look you just want to look in a way that people are going to say, okay, this guy might be a big guy. That's
Yes.
one of the problems we have. So I get into the bank and I'm sitting, and there's this mechanic who comes in. They're always looking oily, and
Yeah.
he comes in, and we have the same relationship manager. And I asked for my statement, and this guy asked for his statement. But when this guy asked for his statement, they had to serve me first because I was looking like somebody who should be in a bank. But when I took my statement, I sat there and I was filling in my check booklet, and this guy took his statement. He was worth about 5 times more than me. But his banker will not even give him that respect. So I think
Respect.
for me, this is Cameroonians don't want to accept it, but you don't just want to respect a star because he's walking on foot like you. And that's a big problem. That's a big problem we have. And I wrote an article about 2 weeks ago. No, no, a month ago. And I told people it's not always about the money. You don't support somebody only by giving them your money. You can get into my office, like somebody got into my office one day and said, Terence, it's too hot in here. You're teaching people come here to teach. And for me, I tell people that I live in Douala without a fan
Yeah, so
because
you,
I
you
don't
can
have
stand the heat.
temperature problems. But when this guy got into my office, he told me, look, Terence, it's too hot in here. And we had to save up money to increase the air conditioners we have in the office. That is feedback.
Yep.
And it can change a lot in your business. But people don't understand that just meeting a musician or an aspiring musician or a musician who is almost out there and behaving a type, it can let them go back home and say, but look, I'm doing something, I should put more energy in this.
There we
I
go.
think it encourages people. People should just endeavor to say, guy, this thing you're doing is good.
Yep.
I think this your product is good, but it can be better. That is what we call feedback. It must not be positive. You
Yes.
can see somebody you don't like and you make them understand that you don't like them. You walk up to them and tell them this thing you did was not good. That's feedback. So, but in Cameroon, we have the issue of giving feedback only to people who can bless us financially. It's not good. I think we should try to give feedback for somebody just because they have their face out there every day. I write articles, people read, and some people write me personally and say, okay, that one was helpful. But some people would even meet you on the road and they act like, okay, this guy is this all that is about this guy. And I think it's not proper. People want to grade in Cameroon. We grade people a lot by looking at their physical experience, physical appearance, which is not
Appearance.
good. Let me just give an anecdote. When I worked for the Ghanaian, he was a billionaire. And every time he comes to Cameroon, he's putting on a polo shoes. He's putting on a polo shirt like this. And every time we go for meetings at MTM, they'll make us wait for hours and hours.
Yeah.
I told this guy one day, they're treating us like this because you come here and they don't see the
The
kind
way
of
you're
person that you
dressed.
are. So
Yeah.
what he told me was that next time we are going to see him in Cameroon. So when he came to Cameroon he usually came to Cameroon since the company apartment was not far from the office. He would not even hire a car. He would leave the office, just walk on foot to the apartment. But when he came the next time, he had to hire a V8 Land Cruiser. Back then, they were not common, and
Yes.
he actually dressed. And when we got to MTM, even the person at the front desk was panicking, like,
You see that?
who parked this car out here? Who is this guy? And you begin to ask yourself, this is somebody who is coming here maybe for the sit time. So I think we attach a lot of our feedback based on physical
Appearances.
appearances in Cameroon, which is
Yeah.
which is not correct for me.
Oh, great. I'm so happy that you've looked at this in another dimension, even than I have been thinking the past couple of days. I'm glad that I asked you this question and you shared this because I believe that this feedback thing it's something that is just looming in the back, but it has a very big impact on our
But
community, on our
yeah,
country. We need to pay more attention to feedback and how we treat people because
yes,
as you say it's a lot of things happening just because of the way you see somebody for the first time. You look at somebody's physical appearance determines the kind of respect you give them,
you
which I
give
don't
them.
think is good, and I believe that it's one of those places. I'm not saying that again, people hate to compare Cameroon and Nigeria. Yes, they are a bigger country than us, but
Oh,
one of the
I mean,
reasons that they make it big is because there are things that they don't do. But because I thought of it and I know how Terence thinks, I read his blogs, so I know how he can talk about stuff. That's why I decided to just bring it up to him impromptu. Terence, I appreciate you so much. Again, you said I should call you Chocho. So Chocho,
Chocho.
I appreciate your time so much. I appreciate all what you have shared with us today. This episode is going to go live, and I bet that it's going to impact a lot of people. Thank you so
Hopefully,
much for your time. And my dear listeners, Again, Terence has made himself available. You can reach out to him. If you cannot reach out to him, let me know and I can connect you to. You can talk to him about what he does, especially when it comes to the cooperative part of what they do in Cameroon. If you want some more information on that, let us know and we are willing to share. I appreciate you for your time. I appreciate you for listening. And again, I just spoke about feedback. If this podcast means anything to you, if it has impacted you
Give
in
us
any
feedback.
way, please leave a review. You can leave a review either on Facebook or if you have Apple Podcasts, leave a review because that is how it's Apple Podcast is going to make it or Spotify. It's going to make it available to more and more people. So I
People.
appreciate your feedback. I appreciate those who call me to talk to me about what I'm doing. I appreciate that. But I will also love it. I will love it more if you actually give a written review of what you think of the podcast. Thank you, people, so much. Thanks again, Terence. Thanks for your time and goodbye for now.
Okay, thank you for having me, and we're going to spread the podcast more and more. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you too.